In this Blender 2.8 tutorial, I will show you how to stabilize a shaky video clip. Other tutorials can be found in my playlists. Because we're going to do the stabilization slightly different to the way a lot of people stabilize their videos, what I recommend is you actually save your video to a separate folder, so you've only got the video you're going to stabilize in the folder until you get used to working with Blender. Okay, so come to the top left of the screen and left click on 3D view, and then what you want to do is select movie clip editor. Now left click on open and then go to the folder where you've saved your video, and then select your video and then left click open clip. Now the first thing you'll need to do, if you want to zoom in and out, you just roll your middle mouse. The first thing you need to do is set this up. So firstly, just drag this over, this panel over, and have a look at the frame rate. So this is saying 50 frames per second. So look for the tab that says output, left click on it, and then you got the frame rate. So if you left click on the 24 FPS, you've got options to set your frame rates up. So I'm going to just left click on 50. Okay, now the other thing, if you're not used to using Blender, as a default it will always end at 250 frames. So this video effectively is 5 seconds long. So you need to match this up. Now you can manually change it. Up here it'll tell you that your length, so this is telling me it's 502. So you can manually change it in this box here or this box here, or the quickest way to do it is actually left click on set scene frames. And this is now changed to 502. Now one of the problems with trying to stabilize a video in Blender is it uses up a lot of memory, and if you, for instance, if I played this back now, you'll see that this is struggling, and you'll start getting gaps in of this purple. Difficult. I'm not going to let it run for ages, believe you me, it doesn't work that well. So what I would do, and this is where I assume you've got a reasonable quality video, mind you. If you've got some naff thing you've nicked off the internet, this may not work. But what I would do, if you've created your own video and it's from your own camera and it's a good quality, what I would do is to the top of the screen, left click on the arrow next to proxy timecode and left click in the box and select a percentage. Now this video is good enough for me to work with 25%, so you'll have to deselect, obviously, as long as the percentage you're going to use is highlighted, this will work. All will be obvious nearer the end. So next thing you want to do is left click build proxy timecode, and this bar here will come across. Now rather than working with this or with the proxies, all you need to do now is come up to the top of the screen and left click the cross, and then left click on open and go back to the folder that you stored your video in originally. This is why we've done it this way, and you'll see a box that says BL proxy. Double click on it and double click on the next box until you get to something that says proxy 25 AVI. Left click on this and then left click open clip. Now if I play this, it'll actually play. So I'm going to just let this play until this purple line comes across here and finishes. So that's prefetched this, and I'm going to go back to the beginning. You can also prefetch up here by left clicking on this button here. Now this is a very low definition video. When we finished, this will be rendered in full high definition, but this is good enough for what I want to do. So I'm going to just drag this over, and if you hold your right mouse button down in the timeline, you can just have a quick scroll through. So I don't know, what you're looking for is something you can select that doesn't get covered up. You can overcome this problem, but I'm not going to go over how to sort out marks which get covered. I'm going to just go for this point here and this point here. So I'm just going to go back to the beginning, and what I'm going to do is left click on this add button to the left of the screen, and then place my pointer over the area I want to track and left click. Now I'm going to go over just a couple of things. If you come to the top sort of right, there's a box that says clip display. Left click on this and put a tick in search. Roll my middle mouse out. Now this inner box is tracking the area here. This outer box is the amount of area it will allow you to move out of. So for instance, if that in the next frame skipped up here, this wouldn't work. So I would have to drag this and increase the size. I'm just press Ctrl Z to go back. Now this is actually probably bigger than I need, so I'm going to just press S and just reduce it down in size a bit. What I'm going to do now is to the left of track, there's an arrow, left click on it, and then left click on the forward arrow, and that's worked. It's gone right the way to the end to the 502. So I'm going to go back to the beginning and then left click on the tab that says track, and then there's a padlock. Just left click on it to lock that track. Okay, I'm going to go up to add, and I'm going to just place another pointer over this red dot here. I'm going to zoom in by rolling my mouse and then hold down shift, and okay, now you can move these pointers about by placing your pointer in this little box here and just moving it around, or you can press G for grab on your keyboard and move it around. So I'm going to just place it here, I think, and then press S and I'll reduce this in size. In fact, I'm going to move it again, so I'm going to press G and place it. I think there probably will work. Roll my middle mouse to come out and drag my view around. Okay, so let's just track this. Yep, straight to 502, easy peasy. And we'll lock this one off up here. Okay, now we're good to go. This is where things get interesting. Come back up to the clip display box, and then left click in the box. It says show stable, and then left click on stabilization. I'll drag this out a bit so you can see a bit more what I'm doing. Then put a tick in the 2D stabilization box by left clicking on it. Okay, so I'm going to just play this clip so you can see what's going on. And there's nothing going on because I forgot to do something. So happens to the best of us. In this box here, you've got a couple of options: rotation and scale. Ignore the scale, just left click on the rotation. That's assuming you want to stabilize rotation as well as position. Okay, so your first box is track for location. So I'm going to left click on this one here and then left click on the plus sign. I'm going to left click on this one, and I'm going to use this for the rotation, and I'm going to left click on the plus sign in the rotation box. It says rotation scale. Now if I play this, you can see what's going on. Now I'm going to just roll my mouse in this timeline box so you can see that, so we can see all of the tracks. This anywhere on Blender, if you roll your mouse, you can increase or decrease the size, and if you hold down shift and your middle mouse, you can move this about. So let's make this track a bit easier to use. Okay, when you come to render your image, if you've got any of this malarkey, it will show as a border, and this is something you need to start playing with. So I'm going to just go back to the beginning a minute, and this is where trying to explain things can be take a bit of time. So you've got a couple of influences here. You've got a location and a rotation influence. The lower these are, the less movement you get. So unless you're trying to stabilize a ridiculous sort of shaky video, which will probably look awful anyway, they always do, I wouldn't keep it at this higher rate. What I would do is just hold down Control and then roll your middle mouse in your location influence box and reduce it down. So I'm actually going to take this quite a way down, so I'm going to take it down to about 0.3, and I'm going to do the same in the rotation. Obviously your video may be different, you can manually type these figures in as well. So that's 0.3 on both of those, and I'm also going to reduce the expected scale. So I'm going to take this down to something like that, and I'm just going to play this. We've still got this problem, so there's nothing I can do about that, even with reducing the movement. So I'm going to have to take this scale back up. So I'm going to rotate this up until we got none of the checkerboard showing. Effectively, you want the clip inside the view. And I'm going to play this again. And we got this problem coming up here. So this is where I'll start doing something slightly different. You can change the position of these clips. So you've got a target X and Y with your pointer or your timeline at track 1. Right click on your target X or Y box, and then left click, insert keyframe. So I'm going to just drag this track along a bit, and we're getting a bit tight about there. So this is on the Y axis, so if you hold down Control and roll your middle mouse, you can bring your view back to the middle a bit and adjust your view this way. But don't do this. The minute this shows, that will show in your video. So I'm going to just sort of center this up a bit, and then I'm going to right click, and then I'm going to left click, insert keyframe. Okay, let's drag this along a bit more. So again, we're getting tight here. So this is on the Y axis, so I'll, again, sorry, the X axis. In fact, I'll do the Y by holding down Control and moving my middle mouse, and again right click, insert keyframe. Let's drag this now. Obviously this is a quick tutorial, so I'm going to go to the end here. Right, we'll just change the X a bit like this, making sure that you don't have anything showing like this. Don't know what happened there. Must always be a grey border. Okay, right click and then insert keyframe. Let's go back to the beginning and play this. I think that's probably looking pretty good. Okay, go back to the beginning. Now the next thing you need to do is go up to Compositing and make sure you've got a tick in the Use Nodes box, and also there's one in the backdrop. Left click on this Render Layers box and then just press X on your keyboard, X for X-ray, to remove it. Come up to the Add button and next to Import, left click Movie Clip. Okay, and this is why we needed to save this in a different folder. It just makes it that bit easier to find as a novice. Left click on the Open button and navigate to the folder where your video is stored and select the original video. Then left click Open Clip. Now come up to Add again, and next to Distort or Distort, left click Stabilize 2D, and this time you can left click on the, if I just roll my middle mouse so you can see what I'm doing, on the clapperboard, left click on the clapperboard and select the proxy. So this one says proxy 25 AVI. Place your pointer over the blue dot next to image, hold your left mouse button down and drag this cable to connect onto the image on the left hand side of Stabilize 2D. Do the same from image 2D to image on the compositor. And finally, left click on Add, then in Output, left click on Viewer. Connect the Stabilize 2D to the image on the viewer, and this will happen. To the right of the screen you should see something that says Fit. It's underneath Move, so just left click on Fit. And as you can see, this has actually reduced in size a bit to the original, but it's gone back to as good a quality as I'm going to get. It's not the pixelated proxy clip. Okay, so you probably find you won't be able to play this, but if you just want to check it, place your pointer in the track line and just use your arrow key. So I'm going to just use my right arrow key just to go through this to make sure everything's working okay. And at present it's looking pretty good. Okay, so we're going to render this now. Go back to the output box. You probably know all this anyway, but anyway, what you want to do, next to TMP, left click on the little folder and decide where you're going to save your video. I'm going to save it on my desktop because I'm lazy, and I'm going to give it a very quick description, DTS, that'll do, and then left click Accept. Next thing you need to do is decide on the format you're going to use. So left click on the little box that says PNG, then left click FFmpeg video, and then there's a box that says encoding, left click on this. You've got containers, left click on this and decide what you're going to save it as. So you got different options here. I'm not going to change anything, I'm going to leave it at this. Codec size, the one thing I would suggest is you increase the quality because you would have already reduced your clip a bit in size, so you don't want a naff quality. So left click on medium quality and then left click on high quality. Decide whether you're going to use audio, This is in this audio tab, and then it'll say no audio. Left click and decide what audio you're going to use. So I'm going to use AC3. That'll do, I think. And now you're good to go. Come up to the top of the screen and left click on render, and then left click render animation. And if your computer is anything like mine, you can probably go away on a world cruise and hopefully it'll be finished when you come back. I'll come back to this when this is finished. Right, well, that video's finished rendering. I've come back from a 2-week world cruise and I now have got a stable video without any borders showing. Hopefully this helps someone. Thank you for watching. Cheers.